Matthew, I don't know if there's any program in the country having a more tumultuous offseason than USC. Let's talk about it after the stinger. It's Felix Sharpe and Matt Bruening for CampusToCanton.com. I hope you all like what it is that we're doing, trying to push college fantasy football into the mainstream. That's what it is that we do. We've been around since March of 2021. In another video, I said 2001. That was my mistake, 2021. And we're starting to gain some momentum. Just past 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. Congratulations to you, Matthew. Now we're on the road to 5,000. We're going to be posting a video every single day between now and the end of January. And we'll see how y'all act. Maybe after that, we'll even post a video every day after that. If we gain some momentum here. So subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 5,000 subscribers. USC fans, go ahead and drop a like on this video before we get to saying what we're saying. Let's get this to 50. Because you want to like the video now because you're probably not going to like the rest of the video. Yeah. Matthew, USC is having a bad offseason. Yeah. I think it's safe to say that they're having a bad offseason. Miller Moss transfers out. That's not necessarily a bad thing because we were Jaden Mayaba fans early on. We told people to trade for him in Campus to Canton fantasy leagues, trade for him. That turned out to be the right call. But you also lose Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson. Not only that, but you got Raleek Brown chirping in over here at Arizona State saying that they made the right decision by transferring out. What are your thoughts on USC after having a poor showing, kind of losing some of this top offensive talent that they had acquired over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing that's happened with USC right now. I mean, you mentioned Raleek Brown. You've got USC, I mean, I guess you'd say former players now that have also entered the portal over the past couple of years saying the same thing, like you just mentioned with Raleek Brown, which is not typically something you see. You look at the fact that Lincoln Riley was very lauded when coming over here, right? Everybody talked about one of the best offensive minds in the games, and I think he had some of that backing with the players that he had developed at Oklahoma. Until you kind of look deeper at that with Oklahoma, and a lot of those guys kind of came in during his time as just an offensive coordinator, more in like the Bob Stoops era. He was able to put in guys like Baker Mayfield, CeeDee Lamb, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I know I'm forgetting players that had went into the NFL from that. Mark Andrews was another one that went in during his time there with Oklahoma. Like he put in a lot of players. Since coming to USC, it doesn't feel like that success has followed him. The offense has taken a pretty significant drop down, even in having a player like Caleb Williams at quarterback. Caleb Williams, #1 overall pick to the Chicago Bears last year, an incredibly talented player. But if you go look, his wide receiver 1 since coming over to USC, 114th in fantasy points, 54th, 39th, where they were typically up in the top 40s with Oklahoma, if not better. His offensive explosion rating over the past couple of years, 99th. Now, he did have the second in that final year with Caleb Williams, but then 28th. The one thing that's been consistent with Lincoln Riley has been two things. Really good running back play. Like his running backs have been really good, and we've seen that. And he's done a really good job of hitting the transfer portal with those. But also, he's actually continued fairly good recruiting classes with USC. The 6th ranked his first year in 2022, 7th in 2023. But then last year we saw a massive drop off to the 20th. I don't know how much of this is NIL based. I know that's going to be kind of the argument that's made against this, that it needs to have better NIL. I know he's commented recently that they have 10 to 12 million. I think they need to bump that up because you've got teams like Alabama and Ohio State now talking about going closer to 20, 30 million. But overall, I think he's lived so much on his offensive prowess or whatever you want to call it for his time at Oklahoma. And I feel like defenses are starting to catch up to that. And I don't know those offenses will work in the Big Ten. And you say whatever you want, but losing Miller Moss, who's a 4-star, is not good. Losing Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson, I know Branch was a 5-star. I think Deuce was close, if not a very high 4-star. Losing those kind of players at a team like USC, which is supposed to be like a blue blood of college football, that is not good. And it speaks to me that there's some issues going on behind the scenes here.
And we care about offensive talent right here because we're a college fantasy company. And you look at Lincoln Riley since 2019, that was the last time he had a 1,000-yard receiver. And it's not like he's had some scrubs there since then. Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson, 5-star players, Marvin Mims, Mario Williams, who I believe just had a 1,000-yard season for Tulane. I could be mistaken on that, but I know that Darian Mensah, they don't even pass the ball. Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can look that up and see if Mario Williams actually had 1,000 yards seasons for Tulane. But what about Jordan Addison? Jordan Addison, who was a first-round NFL draft pick, he didn't even have 1,000 yards receiving for this USC team. So Lincoln Riley, who's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, been a little bit shaky since some of those OU days. Now, they are doing well in the running game. Kennedy Brooks, Ramondre Stevenson, of course, this year with Jaquavius Marks. But then we thought that Quentin Joyner would be next, and he transfers to USC. I am a Jaden Mayava fan. We did a trade show, and the cover of the thumbnail for the show was to trade for Jaden Mayava. This is like in August or whatever it was. I still like Jaden Mayava. He's got a little bit of Caleb Williams to his game. But who's he going to throw to? You got Mekhi Lemon there, right? Who else are they going to throw to? Quentin Joyner's gone. I thought he was going to be a big part of the offense next year. USC, they better bring some players in the transfer portal offensively if Lincoln Riley's going to hit his offensive ceiling, what we have come to expect from him over the years. It's what we've come to expect from him over the years, Matthew, but he ain't really been delivering that much.
Yeah, like I said, since leaving Oklahoma, and I think, again, you can argue a lot of those players came in under the stoops there. Now, he's continued to do that with the quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams was a player that he recruited, so I want to give him credit for that. But you just mentioned, like, Jordan Addison. That's a player he brought in through the portal. Kyle Ford, portal player as well, though he did not end up panning out. But, like, he's not seemed to be able to recruit wide receivers at the same level. Mekhi Lemon, he did recruit, and Zachariah Branch. Obviously, Branch gone now. Mekhi Lemon did have a very good season last year. I think could lead the room. Has really seemed to kind of attack running back from the portal as well. So who's the guy maybe they'll bring in this year? They did get Eli Sanders from New Mexico. I think could be very good for them. But overall, I'm very worried about what this team could be. Mario Williams, by the way, did have just over 1,000 receiving yards for Tulane this year. They don't have a quarterback coming in that, and they haven't had really a quarterback coming in the previous classes. Now, they did get Houston Longstreet.
There you go.
Who is an intriguing player. He is a player that I really liked. You mentioned what we do here. We scout those players and talk about what we think they could be from a fantasy perspective. I believe Houston Longstreet is a tier 1 quarterback. So for us, a 80 rating or above, which is in our ratings, a 5-star player. I believe in that player. Very similar to Kyler Murray from a high school perspective. And also the main thing a lot of people have an issue with is his completion percentage at high school, which is right around the same as Caleb Williams. Well, folks, we said the same thing about Caleb Williams, and he proved us wrong. And I think Longstreet could do that. But as you just mentioned, like, what are the wide receivers? What's this going to look like around him? Because they're not bringing any good wide receivers, in my opinion, in the recruiting window either. And so far in the 2025 class, it's not looking good. I believe they're at the 14th ranked class. USC should be higher than that. USC should be in the top 10 every single year, especially with them going to the Big Ten. And another issue I really have with Lincoln Riley, and speaking on the recruiting side of things, is he does not do a good job of recruiting California. USC should be in for every single top player in California. California is one of the best states for high school football, and he's bringing in a couple guys from California every year. No, you should be in on every single guy. Oregon and Dan Lanning, I get that they've got Nike's money, should not be coming into California and taking the top-end players. They're going to places like Mississippi.
They're going to Michigan. They got my little cousin is on the team from Porter's Northern. Jaden, shout out to Jaden.
They're which again, look, when you're USC, you should be recruiting all around the country. Don't get me wrong, you should be, but you should be getting the players from California, and they're just not doing that. They're going to Connecticut. I was looking at the recruiting class earlier. They're getting a guy from Connecticut. Like, get the talent from California. Lock up California. That's how I think you win the recruiting game and you rebuild USC to what it was, because everybody expected it to be Lincoln Riley, and I saying this is what he's now going into his 5th year as a head coach of of USC. I don't think they're back. Outside of the 1 year with Caleb Williams, they have not been, in my opinion, a top program.
I mean, you said it. I didn't say it. Let them come after you. USC fans, let us know what you think in the comments. Give us your excuses. You know what, Matthew? This video is going to be do terrible. It's going to do terrible. The negative videos always do terrible. Drop your excuses in the comments, USC fans. Help us get to 50 likes. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back. Peace.